Okay, so it's a beautiful morning here in the city of Onitsha, the commercial nerve center of Anambra State, and the home for Udala Radio 4.7 FM. This is from where we radiate and reach you every morning, every afternoon, every evening, every night. And this very morning, we're glad to have you again join us on our news and current affairs program, The Polity, that looks at newspaper headlines and brings you analysis on developments in our country. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and it's a Thursday edition of this very program, the 16th day of April 2025. So more than half of the month of April. Very soon, before you know it, it will be towards the end of April. Don't forget that this is the beginning of the second quarter of the year. So if you are part of those who normally do evaluation, of course, you should be doing evaluation of how you spend the first quarter of this very year. So welcome on board to today's program, The Polity on Udala Radio 4.7 FM. We are going to bring you the headlines and then bring you the analysis this very morning. Don't forget that we have different platforms through which you can get involved on this very program. On Facebook, we are Udala Radio 4.7 FM. On YouTube and Instagram, Udala Radio. Get interactive on those platforms. By the time we get to open the phone lines, you join the conversation. And this morning, a lot. But we have to pick the most salient ones to let you know that there are lots of things that are going to dominate this conversation. Take for us in Anambra State here, we got to know that SASA destroyed illicit drugs worth millions of naira in Anambra State. That was yesterday. Of course, people said it's a good thing, but on the other hand, some persons are asking critical questions. They are asking whether fight against illicit drug is part of the line of duties of SASA, or whether the line of duty is all about fighting anti-touting. Then at the federal level, yesterday we heard about a prediction that came from the NIMET and the Hydrological Agency, talking about the possible flooding in 33 states and the FCT. FG is saying that 33 states and the FCT risk high flooding this very year, and Anambra is mentioned among those 33 states, likewise Enugu State. Then yesterday, Atiku Abubakar spoke on ADC's move for consensus and his last shot at the presidency. We're going to tell you more on this. Then, beyond the shores of Nigeria, Pope Leo XIV arrived in Cameroon yesterday for second leg of his African trip. Don't forget that he began the trip in Algeria. That was about 2 days ago. And when he got to Algeria, there was a twin bomb blast in Algeria. But he had ended his tour in Algeria, so he has moved to Cameroon. And we learned that this very Thursday, he's going to be at Bamenda, that place that has been the hotbed of a separatist movement, where he's going to drop a message of peace in Cameroon. Yesterday, he met with the Cameroonian president, Paul Biya, who has been in power since 1982. And he also spoke about, the peace and delivering good governance to the people. Then, in the world of sports, we saw how Bayern Munich sank Real Madrid in UEFA Champions League quarter-final thriller. I don't know anybody who watched that very much who could see it was all sensation, it was all fire. In fact, from the blast of the whistle till the end, it was a high tension sub-game. Adagula scored in the first minute and scored a wonderful free kick, but all the same, Luis Diaz and Michael Olisa, they sank the heart of Real Madrid, and today they're out of Champions League. So these are some other things you can find this very morning by the time we begin our analysis. Good morning, Tony Sambeki, who is on the analysis desk.
Good morning to you, Franklin Ebuka. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, India Anambra. Good morning, Ndi Onitsha Donedu. Good morning, Ndi Osumo. Good morning, Ndi Afiandoro Ibondi Nkuzi, Ndi Olubo, the artisans, the agents, the religious leaders and traditional leaders. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, the people of goodwill. Good morning, Ndinkanyi Ndibanye, as we usually say in our homeland, in our own circle. It's a very beautiful morning. It's another miracle for us, miracle of waking up. Today being the Thursday, the 16th day, the month of April, year 2026. We thank God Almighty for His grace, for His mercy, for His love, for opportunities he keeps exposing us to for the protection of lives. Because there are so many of us who do not know the value of peace. Peace has value. Because if you go to war-torn areas, you will know the importance of peace. And we have peace in our land. That's the most essential. Because once there is peace, every other thing will thrive. And nothing thrives in atmosphere devoid of peace. In atmosphere of chaos, cantankerousness, animosity, acerbity, and what you may call rancorousness. We thank God for peace in our homeland, in our home state. And for other things you mentioned, maybe by the time we go into analysis or details of some of these developments, we will let you know. Pope Leo, just as you said, arrived Cameroon yesterday. And I saw how he was welcomed, and I was thinking probably effort should be made to bring him to Nigeria. He should also visit Nigeria. And the spats the American president had with him, he said that he is to preach the gospel and he is to promote peace, and no more, no less. His own is to promote peace. He's a messenger of peace. He sounded that to American president, and even when Trump told him, were you not aware of the crushing of about how many thousand people? Trump said 65,000 or 40-something thousand Iranians who were on protest, that you did not preach praise to the Iranian authorities. And all of that, he said, he is preaching praise to everybody, peace to everyone, so that we need peace in our world. You're welcome.
Okay, so talking about peace, it reminds me of that very song by Arokele that I love so much. He titled that very song Peace. Anytime I play that, there's a kind of, a sense it gives to me, asking for the peace across the world. And then talk about this Pope visit to Cameroon. And we're wondering whether it's going to help to bring peace to that very country. We know that, just like Nigeria, that the Francophone part of Cameroon has been asking for separation from Cameroon. They're asking for Ambazonia country. They want to be carved out from Cameroon. And since then, that part of Cameroon has not known peace. And we know that the hotbed has been the Bamenda area. In fact, people who live in Cameroon will tell you that if you go to the Bamenda area, they also have a sit at home as a war pressing for separation from Cameroon. But one thing happened ahead of this Pope visit. They said they were declaring peace, that there will be peace for some days to allow for the visit of Pope. And then when he arrives, of course, they are going to have conversations. I heard he's going to have mass, I think, tomorrow, have conversation with some people. But if that is going to help to bring peace to that very country, we do not know. So, Tony, do you see any kind of change happening in that troubled part of Cameroon where separatists have been asking for an independent state of Ambazonia?
Well, just like you pointed out earlier on, the Bamenda area of Cameroon, of course, we know is the capital of the northwest region of Cameroon, and one of the two English-speaking Anglophone regions in the country that is largely French-speaking. And of course, we know we have other areas. And we know very well the roots of their agitation go back to the colonial history. After the World War I, Germany lost control of Cameroon, and the territory was divided between Britain and France under a League of Nations mandate. British Cameroon, including the Bamenda, was governed differently using English language and common law. And in 1961, after the UN organized plebiscite, Northern British Cameroon joined Nigeria. Southern British Cameroon, including the Bamenda, joined French Cameroon to form a federation. But over time, many Anglophones began to feel that their legal system, which is common law, was being eroded, their education system was being altered, they were politically and economically marginalized. And if you look at when the agitation started, because the current phase of the crisis began sometime in 2016, and it was triggered by lawyers in Bamenda protesting the appointment of French-speaking judges in Anglophone courts, and teachers protested the imposition of French language and curriculum in schools. This protest started peacefully but escalated after government crackdowns. I remember that by 2017, the situation had intensified. In fact, activists declared an independent state called Ambazonia. Armed separatist group emerged. The government responded with military force. And this turned the agitation into an armed conflict, especially affecting the Bamenda, which is in northwest, and also the Buea, which is also in the southwest, one of the English-speaking part of the Cameroon. But currently, the conflict has led to thousands of deaths, displacements of civilians, schools shut down, economic disruption, and the Bamenda remains one of the epicenters of unrest, with periodic clashes and ghost town protests. In simple terms, the agitation in Bamenda is about identity, Anglophone versus Francophone system, political marginalization, demand for autonomy or independence. But the Poplio visit brings peace to all these agitations, as we have mentioned. It brings normality, it brings calm, trying to preach to the warring sides. The Bamenda area, not that they really wanted to, or they really want to pull out from Cameroon, but they are making demands. And the authorities can at the same time attend to the demands. You don't destroy their school system, you don't destroy their legal system, because of course you know what happened. It was as a result of Second World War. Germany was in control. But being that Germany lost that war, based on the League of Nations, as I said earlier on, Cameroon was divided into the Francophone and Anglophone. I don't know why the League of Nations decided to divide the country, put one side to France and the other one to Britain. And that's the problem. And it generated, by the time they get independence, just like I said in 1961, these things were not well taken care of, well not harmonized. And that's where we are. But the visit of Poplio is a visit of peace, to see how the authorities in Cameroon can accommodate, not just accommodation in the sense of trying to give palliation. No, not palliatives, but accommodation in the sense of giving the Anglophone areas what is due to them as expected.
Okay. Just for me to make a little correction about what I said earlier, because I referred to Bamenda as the Francophone. No, it's Anglophone. That's the English-speaking side. Because Cameroon, if you go to Cameroon, that country can be called bilingual.
It's bilingual. And why they are, just like I said, because of the loss of World War II by Germany. Germany was the colonial master until they lost that war. Territories they had before, those territories were taken over from them. And League of Nations sat and divided these territories held by Germany and those who lost the war, even Japan, and even many that had these territories. That's why we had so many nations getting independence from territories once held by those who were with Germany when the war was fought, and how the war went, and when they lost the war, some of these territories were taken over from them.
Okay, so that's the story about Pope Leo the 14th, being in Cameroon, where he's going to deliver a message of peace to the warring parties. Okay, so we are going to leave that to get to the headlines we have this very morning. The time now is at 9:30 a.m. and it's time for us to bring you the headlines on the paper. Stay with us.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so just like you heard that you are listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha. My name is Franklin Nebuka. Antonio Lisambeki is on the analysis desk. We have to hit the headlines now on 4 newspapers: The Nation, The Guardian, Vanguard, and The Punch newspapers. We begin with the headlines we have on The Nation. And the big story there says ADC presidential ticket tears Atiku, Obi Kwankwaso apart. Momodu Tanko clash over primary. Nafubala writes of convention. This headline, I don't know whether to say it is sensational or not, because if you read the story is all about everybody trying to protect his own interests. Those who are aligned with Atiku saying that Atiku will be the best thing to get the ticket. Those who are aligned with Obi saying that Obi will be the best thing to get the ticket. And those aligned with Rabi Kwankwaso saying that it should be Rabi Kwankwaso or no one else. So that's what the story is all about. So I do not know whether this headline is a bit sensational just to sell the paper. Then you look at the headline on page 4 of The Nation. It says Sharafaddin, a last bid for your APC Ghana ticket gets big support. That's on page 4. Above the nameplate, local airlines threaten shutdown over fuel cost. They are saying that by April 20th, if nothing happens to the price of aviation fuel, that they might shut down services because in as much as there is a problem in the Middle East which has affected the price of crude oil in the international market and invariably affecting the price of every petroleum product, that those who are the middlemen seems to be exploiting them because they're wondering how a liter of aviation fuel will move from about 1,500 to about 3,200 naira, and they're asking for the government to see what they can do unless they are going to shut down. But guess what? Federal government will surely react because they know that the elite they use the flight, so they will take action to ensure that they don't get to shut down their services. Dangote, Pope, Trump, Xi Jinping, others among Time's 100 most influential. An interesting story on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Fallen Brigadier General, Captain, 6 soldiers buried with full honors. The story is on page 5. I think yesterday the military became more clear about the number of persons or number of soldiers who died in that incident. So they confirmed that it was a Brigadier General whose name is already out there, Brema, then 1 Captain Azubike, and then 6 other soldiers, and they were buried yesterday in Borno State. This story says inflation rises to 15.38% on global oil crisis. The story can be found on page 3 of the Nation newspaper. Top times ahead, IMF warns oil price volatility to worsen oversupply gaps, urges Nigeria to build fiscal shields with oil windfall. That story is on front page of the Nation newspaper, and you can see the picture of IMF director. Then on page 4, Lagos, Oyo, Ogun, Ondo, Kwara, FCT, 28 others put on flood alert. Yewada, APC in good standing, no fear of implosion, says party chair. And those are the headlines we have on the front page of the Nation. We cross over to the Guardian. On the Guardian, plenty of headlines. Fresh concerns over funding risk as okay. So we didn't get this. Fresh concerns over funding risks as Nigeria's public debt hit 159.28 trillion naira on page 6 of the Guardian. Inflation rises to 15.38% amid global supply chain disruption. That's on page 22. And of course, it's the business page of Guardian newspaper. Dangote, Pope, Trump make Time 100 most influential people on page 4 of the Guardian. Africa scouts $120 billion for 6 Dangote-sized refineries to hedge energy crisis. That's on page 3. 2027 CSOs set agenda for candidates. Demand SDG-aligned manifestos on page 3. ADC crisis deepens as Kachiko slams NBA over no court stance on page 3. Nigeria orders to negotiate $11.7 trillion debt, $920 billion servicing cost. That's on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Keyamo laments $2.5 billion maintenance cost as United Airlines record feedback strike on page 4. 2027, Atiku rallies opposition as APC defense processes on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Then on Vanguard, the big story there on page 5 says, amend new tax law, PIA, Electricity Act now. NESG is the one asking for this, and it has rider says definition of small businesses in Tax Act should align with definition in Comma Act. Identifies need for state legal frameworks to foster collaboration with these schools. Adds amendment would foster enabling business environment. Power Up Nigeria. Oxpan back NESG. Then another story on page 20 says Middle East crisis, IMF plans $50 billion lifeline for Nigeria. Others. NCAA certifies Enugu International Airport on page 11. ACF raises alarm, says insecurity has reached state of war on page 8. It has riders, 6 soldiers, woman killed in fresh Boko Haram attack on military formation in Borno. Annual flood outlook. floods to hit Bayelsa, Delta, Adamawa, Kebbi, 29 other states on page 40 is coming from the FG. FG drops terrorism financing charge against ex-AGF Malamis and son on page 9. Perhaps they have found that there is no evidence to back up that very charge, and that was why they dropped that. And they now have the charges limited to financial malfeasance. Then on page 39, 2027 is my last attempt. Nigerians should trust me. Atiku. He was on a TV interview yesterday where he laid bed, or where he spoke about ADC's plans to use consensus to produce their presidential candidate. But he said if consensus fails, that they are going to resort to primaries, and whoever emerges, others are going to support that very person. Okay, we move over to the Punch newspaper. The big story there says troops repel fresh attack as fallen general, soldiers buried on page 2 with riders. Northern leaders Afenifere demand action as security crisis worsens. 348 killed, 361 abducted in March. Institute. U.S. lawmaker seeks Matawale's ouster. Interesting story there. You might want to check it out and see all the sides of that very headline. 1.8 trillion naira debt. Rep signal imminent contractor payment on page 14. Opposition crisis self-inflicted. APC chair tells ADC on page 24. So do you agree that the crisis in the ADC is self-inflicted because they failed to do the homework when they were trying to build the coalition? Or you think that the crisis in ADC is being sponsored by the party in power? Whatever you think, you can share with us in the course of this very program. Malami's son faced new terrorism-linked firearms charges on page 7. Ogun brick molder killed over 200 naira dispute on pages 4 and 5. How do we explain this, that someone was killed because of 200 naira? That's what I keep on talking about. Why people should control their angers, and in most cases, if there is anything you can do to avoid certain kinds of trouble, especially if you look and see that the person you're having trouble with has nothing to lose, you can flee and have your life. 200 naira, that's why somebody lost his life. What a sad story. Flood alert, 10 states risk cholera surge on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. ADC will go for presidential primary if consensus fails. Atiku on page 26. Fast track financial support, IMF tells Nigeria. Others on page 36. Now the question is, will Nigeria listen to this? Because IMF is saying whatever money you have made from the excess price of crude oil in the international market should be invested in things that can make Nigerians to feel the impact and reduce the sufferings that they are passing through. Then Dangote, Trump named in Time 100 most influential people on page 28, and the last headline on the front page of the Punch says Nigeria's inflation rebounds after US-Iran war shock hit household on page 36 of the Punch newspaper. So these are the headlines we have this very morning. We quickly begin the conversations for today. Stay with us.
You're listening to The Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so Tony, let's begin from one of the stories I pushed out by the time I was trying to go, round the clock before we go to the headlines. I talked about what happened in Anambra State, where SASA simply means Anambra State Anti-Touting Squad. Of course, we know that this very agency was set up by the government of Anambra State to fight touting in Anambra State, basically in Onitsha, Oka, and other parts of Anambra State. And this very agency has swung into action for a long time, and now we know them as Ndakodo. And people who are around, people who live in Onitsha or even outside Onitsha, will attest that they've been able to bring some element of decency or some element of moderation and sanity when it comes to the issue of touting in Onitsha. But what we are seeing in recent times is the fact that SASA is going into...
Well, I think we are being so emotional here. I have said this thing. Everybody has right to arrest. But once you make arrest, you hand over to the appropriate agency that has prosecutorial power. I have always argued this. You don't wait for those who are saddled with that responsibility, street to censor, to come and do ordinarily what you could have stopped. If you have capacity to stop any illegality, any crime, please do. But once you do that, hand over to the appropriate authority that have prosecutorial power to take over immediately. I've seen the effect of drugs, because these touts we are talking about, they make use of drugs. There are many of them are drug addicts, 100%, not even 99%. They abuse drugs, and that's why they are on the road. Molest people, harass people, even kill, maim, destroy our properties and goods. They cause all manner of nuisance on our roads. They create chaos. They create anxiety. These are the people I'm talking about. These touts we are talking about. And many of them intimidate unsuspecting members of the public. If any agency of government or any organ, even a club, a social club, can stop them, can round them with whatever capacity they have to stop their abuse, to stop their intimidation, to stop their either drug related activities, you can do so. But the most important thing is, if you do that, hand over to the appropriate authority. I have said it many times, even in our laws, everybody has power to arrest. Arrest is not meant for police alone. The idea of arrest is to stop illegality, to stop crime. So once you do that, hand over to the...
So Tony, even a private individual can arrest.
Of course.
Based on the law of the country.
That is the law.
But where people are asking questions is the fact that the agency made raids, got these very illicit drugs, other than hand over to NDLEA to handle, they went ahead to do the destruction. And they're asking, are they still acting within their limits, or they are stepping into an area that might bring clash with NDLEA in the future?
I think we must separate, because I wouldn't say I'm there, I wasn't there, but for me, once you can take over those drugs, if you have the capacity to take over those drugs, please do, as against destroy them, because they will form the evidence. But situation where you don't have the capacity to take possession of those drugs, instead of allowing the drugs to fester or to be in the hands of those the drugs should not be in their hands, you destroy. But the best would have been to take over, because these will form part of evidence during prosecution. But if you ask, do they have what it takes to take over those drugs? Of course they do. There is no reason for destruction for me. There's no reason for destruction, because you have the capacity to take over those drugs. Unless you lack what it takes to take over those drugs, or you think that in the process of taking over the drugs, you could be ambushed, you could be killed, you set it up ablaze. I don't know if you understand me, because it is an overt operation. By the time you will be there, trying to gather all the drugs, trying to take over all the drugs, trying to put them together, you may be killed, because those bandits may fight back, may have a way to fight back, because it will take time for you to put all those things together. And while you were doing it, as against being exposed to these drug addicts who may regroup and possibly kill you, you set up that place ablaze. I think that's what they did. What they did was not the other way around, I put it, because they felt if they may start picking the drugs one after the other, it may take their time, and while they were on it, they could be ambushed, because the guys who were on that could have a way to regroup and maybe kill them. They feel that the best thing is to set it up ablaze because of time and leave that place immediately. I guess, I just like I said, I wasn't there, but I guess this could be what they did. They did it in a way, if we cannot take these drugs, let's destroy them because of time. And while we are trying to gather these drugs, we may be ambushed, we may be killed. Let's destroy it.
All right, so let's leave that very much and now move over to what came out yesterday from the federal government, where it was announced that 33 states and the FCT risk a high flooding. It was the Minister of Water Resources and Sanitation, Professor Joseph Utseb, who raised this very alarm that 14,118 communities in 266 local government areas across the 3 states and the FCT faced the high risk of flooding in 2026. The minister disclosed this at the presentation of the 2026 annual flood outlook with the theme Smart Water Resources Management, moving from oil to water-based economy. That happened yesterday at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. That very gathering, came under the auspice of the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, and then which, of course, we know provides evidence-based predictions that enable the government, stakeholders, agencies, state authorities, local governments, and communities for them to prepare ahead of the flood season. That's the essence of this very prediction that happens every year. We know that each time flooding happens, we get to have livelihoods being affected, infrastructure and what have you not, even economic bases are affected also. So that's why these very predictions normally happen. So yesterday, the one yesterday was announced by the minister, and they are saying 33 states are at risk. And the essence is for them to begin to take action to ensure that when the flood comes, the impact will be minimal. Now look at the states who are listed. Abia, Adamawa, Anambra, Bauchi, Bayelsa, Benue, Borno, Cross River State, Delta was mentioned, Ebonyi, Edo, Enugu, Gombe, Imo, Jigawa, they are all in this very part. Also Kaduna, Kano, Kebbi, Kogi, Kwara, Lagos, Nasarawa, they were also mentioned. You talk about Niger, Ogun, Ondo, Oshun, Oyo, Plateau, Rivers, Sokoto, Taraba, Yobe, Zamfara, and the FCT. That 3 of them, so we only have only 3 out of that 6 states who do not fall in within the area of high flood risk areas. And they're saying, if you do the analysis here, you will see that 14,118 communities, they stand a chance of having this very flooding in this very year. Now, they said, go ahead and begin to prepare. Yesterday, I read a story coming from Enugu State saying that they had been preparing before time. And I went through to see how they had been preparing. They talked about, going for sensitization. Government is trying to build roads, build drainages so that when rain comes, it will have a channel through which is going to pass through. They talked about how they're trying to, how they're trying to raise community responders and what have you not. I also looked at what Albert is doing, almost the same thing in the sphere of what Enugu is doing. And I'm now wondering, is it enough? For Albert State, they even talked about how they're preparing for IDP camps already, how they're trying to procure relief materials so that when the flood comes, those who are going to be displaced, they'll have something to fall back on. And I'm asking, are they enough? Are we actually using this prediction to prepare and talk about how we can have a sustainable solution to this, Tony?
Well, if you ask me, I would say there's no state that is immune from flood in Nigeria. There's no state. They talked about 33. For me, it should be 36 states. I looked around, I don't know the states they did not mention, but I guess they may not have mentioned Katsina or Zamfara or Sokoto. This could be the 3 states they may not have mentioned, but these 3 states, for me, they're also prone to flooding. I'll give you an example, I'll give you a reason. But we know why we keep having this flooding issue in Nigeria during the rainy season. And just like I've always said, water, if you look at the northeast area, the Cameroon has 6, water released from the dams in Cameroon flows into the river Benue, affecting states like Adamawa, Taraba, Benue, and also Kogi State. Then from the northwest, the Niger Republic has 6. Water flows through the river Niger, impacting Kebbi, Niger, Kwara, Kogi, and even downwards. If you look at the confluence point, that's the Lokoja. Both rivers, the river Niger and river Benue, meet in Kogi State, making it one of the most flood-prone areas in Nigeria. Downstream to the south-south, the combined water flow through Delta, Bayelsa, even rivers into the Atlantic, causing widespread flooding in the Niger Delta. If you look at the coastal flooding, the state like Lagos, Ondo, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River State, they're also affected by the rainfall and ocean surge. The same also happened in so many states in the southeast. We know very well that flooding is one of the annual problems we do have in this country, but preparation has always been a problem. And we've talked about building dams, more dams. We can make opportunities, we can make something out of this issue of flood. We use water to generate electricity. We can create artificial dams. Apart from creating artificial dams, we can also build drainages to allow their flow as against the way we usually have. I can recall last time we had such kind of flooding here in Delta State. We saw where River Niger went beyond its banks. Many towns around Asaba, Obaru, and Aziz, they were overflooded. Farms were destroyed. And times people die. We've got so many of these many times from time to time. Those in Boko Aziz, Obaru area, we've had their cheers. I remember the last time we had one of the deadliest. I think it was in 2012 or thereabouts. That was when we had the deadliest, where houses were submerged because of lack of preparation. We had these warnings coming from time to time. I have said many times the NIMET, they should just stop from being alert sending organization or alert sending institution to be an institution that can as well take some practical steps to prevent impending loom or impending doom. I've said it many times, but that seems not to have been addressed. When we have flooding, farm produce will be greatly affected because they are the first casualty, the farmlands. Before we talk about humans who will be displaced, and we start thinking of IDP, internally displaced persons camp. And when you go to these IDP camps, it becomes another thing altogether because you have to use money to run them and also to sustain them. It's a big problem. Prevention, as we usually hear in our local parlance, is always better than cure. And they will not hear this story now until it becomes a reality. We don't run for rains when the cloud ticks.
So Tony, when you said that NIMET should stop being an alarmist agency, what does that mean? Because if you look at NIMET and look at the act that established that, this is a federal government agency that is responsible for providing weather and climate services for national development, safety of lives and property. Look at that very act of 2003, which took effect from June 2003. And it says that the key functions would be weather forecasting, data collection and management, advisory services, support for agriculture, and a couple of others. So if these are the core mandate and functions of NIMET, perhaps it's doing its jolly job. There's none left for people who are going to act on the information that NIMET provides.
Well, just like I said, remember the Nigerian Meteorological Agency Act is the law that establishes and empowers NIMET as Nigeria's official weather and climate authority. It was first established in 2003 and it was updated in 2022. It was amended, that's the word, it was amended in 2022 to strengthen its powers, because just like you pointed out earlier on, apart from monitoring weather and climate across Nigeria, predicting rainfalls and storms and what have you, issuing early warning alerts, advising government on climate, and also regulating who can issue weather information and stuff like that. Well, I know very well that for now it is more like Nigeria's early warning system for disaster like flooding. But I'm saying that, just like I said, it should stop being an alarming institution to be that institution that can also make some pragmatic and then practical steps to prevent the impending doom. We know very well that here in Nigeria, we take everything casually. Nobody takes anything serious until that danger becomes a reality, even due to our negligence, laissez-faire attitude to life. Intelligence, if we look at this insecurity we're having in Nigeria, at times these insurgents do give out information that they will be storming this area, but we cannot do anything with it until people will be killed. Looking at it, where there will be stronger integration with other agencies. NIMET alone must be fully integrated with NEMA. NEMA has to do with Emergency Management Agency. and also the NISA water flow monitoring, and also state government. I expect a central command system where focus triggers automatic emergency response. You don't give us a focus without a response. I'm going to see this synergy between NIMET and NEMA. NEMA only respond to tragedy. That is wrong. Once there is a focus that something would happen, NEMA immediately should step into action to ensure that such emergency forecasting do not happen or well taken care of. I have seen these times with that number. And I'm also looking at real-time community alerts. Many Nigerians don't see NIMET warnings. They just issue press statements and communicate to state government. NIMET should be sending SMS alert to citizens. There should be radio and or even TV emergency broadcast. There should be local language warnings, and if you are to send these things, you must measure the demography of the people within that very area. I'm also looking at flood risk zoning must become law. Issue of flood, I have not seen legislation that really address issue of flood in Nigeria. Is a problem, and I've said many times that what the National Assembly ought to be doing, they are not doing. I have not seen where government can be taken to court for not doing what is expected to do when such forecast comes. Authorities must be taken to court, must be sued for negligence, because once we have it as a legislation, some of these things will come into play.
Okay, so let me add before we get to go for this commercial break, because you have talked about building of dams, what we can actually do as a government, and what have you not. Plenty of things you have said. Now, let me also add that, because for us to localize this, I think we need that local touch for us to be able to do this. And that local touch is, let's even start with how do we handle drainages and urban infrastructure. Just go around Onitsha now, for instance, and look at all the drainages. If you you go most all of them. Go to this Onitsha Expressway by Army Barracks. Go and look at that deep gutter. If you get halfway. So is anybody actually looking at even beginning with these little things we can do? These drainages that are already filled with sand, let's even clean them up. Free flow. Local government, what are they doing? State government, what are they doing? FEMA, who are responsible for road maintenance, what are they doing? Because I'm wondering if their road maintenance is just about to go and patch roads. What about other things that can lead to road destruction? Can they look into all those things? They talk about this issue of enforcing urban planning laws. That's why Eastern government says it wants to put down a building that's illegal. When people cry foul, people who understand know where government is coming from, because enforcing urban planning laws are very important, especially those who are built on water channels that are going to block a free flow of water and what have you not. What about restoring natural defenses that we know? People did reforestation, people did afforestation, people protected wetlands. These things, are they still there? I will give you an instance in my community. There's an area you will go to, you will see cashew trees that were planted by colonialists. They didn't plant it as a cash crop or whatever. They did that because they wanted to use the cashew trees to save that environment, to guard against flooding. Today, go there. People are felling the cashew trees for firewood. Anyhow. So those small things we can do. What about improve waste management? When you want pure water fessa, at the end of the day, they end up in gutter, blocking channel. So those small things we can do can even localize. Why can't we even start from there? They now expand to big things we need to do, because even every year a created IDP comes. I don't know how long we are going to run with that very system. Every year people will prepare to leave the ancestral home. Once the prediction comes, or once the alert comes, you leave, whether harvested or not, and we lose money to all these things.
I think many state governments have Ministry of Environment, I'm aware, and this Ministry of Environment handles the issue of waste management and sanitation, as you mentioned, even issue of flood control, and also erosion management, environmental protection policies. even drainage, construction and maintenance, and climate and pollution control, things like this, even enforcement of environmental laws. Many state government, but the point is, do they do their work? That's the point. Yes, I know NEMA is a federal agency. Of course, Ministry of Environment in some of the states can also domesticate the functions of NEMA in their own state with certain limitations. How many of them have done so? It's important. In fact, if you talk about drainage construction, the Ministry of Environment should have a policy on how drainages should be constructed to allow dirt or silts overtaking the drainages. That's what we usually have here in Anambra State. And you keep the silting. How many times will you keep the silting? Because if you silt, the run-up waters or run-off waters will take all manner of dirt and push them down to the drainage, and it will clog everywhere. And once the drainages are clogged, the roads will be destroyed.
Okay.
Because that's the next. I'm thinking that the Ministry of Environment, many of them in different states, should wake up. They are snoring. They are not just sleeping. They are just snoring. If they should wake up to the responsibility, there should be a policy on drainage. And those who have got drainages already, the local governments in those areas should ensure that these drainages, there's a way you construct drainage. You don't open the drainage system, open just like that.
Okay, so suddenly we'll go for this very
Because
commercial
of
break. Once we return, we're going to leave this so that we get to other matters to be able to cover the ground. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Udala Radio, 104.7 FM. When you think of roofing, think of strength. When you think of durability, think of beauty. And when you think of all three combined, think Best Aluminium MFG Limited. At Best Aluminium, we don't just manufacture roofing sheets. We create protection, comfort, and style for your home and business. Whether you're building from scratch or repairing an old roof, we have exactly what you need. Our products include stone-coated roofing sheets, aluminum roofing sheets, and colored roofing sheets. But that's not all. We also offer residential and commercial roofing services, roof repairs, gutters, emergency roofing services, and even durable cookwares that bring quality to your kitchen. Visit us today at 30/32 Anyika Street, Awada Obosi, Anambra State, or call us right now on 0806 416 2374 or 0706 059 6203.
As so, you can live a life filled with spiritual riches. Ekanka, the path of spiritual freedom, presents a day of Ek. Theme: finding the richness of life through the hue. Join us for inspiring talks, uplifting creative arts, workshops, and answers to burning questions about life. The guest speaker, Uchechukwu Okoro, an Ek missionary, will share stories, techniques, and tools that you can use for finding the richness of life through singing the Song of Hugh, the most beautiful prayer. Come to number 2 St. Joseph's Cathedral Road, Aguleri, opposite Otocha Township Stadium, Aguleri, Anambra State, on Saturday, April 18th, 2026, by 8 o'clock in the morning. Ekanka, the path of spiritual freedom.
Are you smart, confident, and ready to earn big? Do you have a passion for sales and marketing? Then listen up. Udala Radio 104.7 FM is calling on ambitious, result-driven individuals to join our team as marketers. No limits, no boundaries, just results and rewards. Work at your own pace, meet amazing clients, and grow your income. Sell it, share it, earn your way. Join Udala Radio and start today. Interested? Visit our station today at number 5 Okono Street, Onitsha, or call 0803-350-4206 or send your CV to udalaradio@gmail.com. Don't wait. Your success story starts here. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, so it's 7 minutes past 10 a.m. and you're listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM Onitsha. My name is Franklin Ebuka. Tony Lisambeki is on the analysis desk, and we just finished with a discussion on the prediction by the federal government that 33 states and the FCT are going to have possible flooding because they are in the high-risk areas. And we're talking about what could be done to get ready for the flooding, so that when it comes, the impact is going to be mitigated or it's not going to be too much. Now, let's talk about politics, because yesterday, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who is a big member of the coalition of opposition parties under the ADC, he was on television interview where he was interviewed by Charles Anogolu of Arise Television, and he spoke on a good number of things. He talked about how ADC is trying to ensure that they get to select the flag bearer of the party for presidential election through consensus. But he said that if consensus fails, they are going to go for primaries, and at the end of the primaries, anybody who emerges, others are going to queue behind it. Now, if you compare this with the headline we have on the Nation newspaper, which we talked about a kind of dissension within the party, where those who are aligned with Atiku are saying the best chance for ADC is to pair Atiku and Obi, where Atiku becomes the candidate and Obi becomes the running mate. But those who are aligned with P2B are saying that the best is for P2B to be the candidate, and he can be paired with either Atiku or Kwankwaso. But those who are aligned with Kwankwaso is saying that the best would be Kwankwaso and then perhaps align with P2B and what have you not. But Atiku, from his interview yesterday, said they are working towards consensus. And people are asking questions whether, if consensus is possible within ADC, given the fact that we have like about 3 or 4 persons who have their eyes set on becoming the flag bearer of that very party. That's number one. The number two is the fact that if consensus fails and they go for primary, would they be able to cater for the different interests in the party and remain united and go into the election to challenge the incumbent Tony?
Well, let's be real. I like being very realistic. Consensus will not work for ADC. I think saying that they will first go for consensus. If it doesn't work, they will opt for direct primaries. I think it's being economical. It's being economical. Consensus will not work. All things being equal, because we are seeing this if and only if Supreme Court ruling favors them. Because if Supreme Court ruling does not favor them, we won't be saying this. We are assuming that the Supreme Court ruling will favor them based on the litigations before the Supreme Court, the appeals before the Supreme Court. Now, if you listen to Obi, he's talking about direct primaries. The interview he had, he was saying something about direct primaries, because when he was asked if the primaries should be dollarized, as what he has preached in the past, that why he left PDP was because the primaries should be dollarized. Why he left PDP was not because of the dollarization of the primaries, because PDP could not see the ticket to Southeast. That was the reason he left. He said it then. I don't know if that has changed. Not because the primaries will be dollarized. Now, when he left PDP, he joined Labour Party, that gave him the ticket on a platter. And the interview he had with the same shouts, he was talking about direct primaries. When he was asked questions about how the primaries will be and if the primaries should be compromised, he said the primaries will not be compromised because it's going to be direct primaries, where every member of the party, registered member of the party, would cast his vote on who becomes the presidential candidate of the party. Atiku will prefer consensus. Obi prefers direct primaries. And for Kwankwaso, anyone goes in as much as his interest is well accommodated. Now, if consensus becomes an option, consensus is where party leaders will start talking to themselves on why this person should be the candidate, and they need to support this person to unseat Tinubu, because they're going to look at two major variables. Whatever candidate you are going to pick must be that person who is popular enough, who has what it takes to unseat the present president of the country, who many of us have said that he appears unbeatable. That is one. And secondly, the kind of mathematics apart from the candidate, because the candidate will be somebody that will be supported by different strongholds of the party. You may have a popular candidate, but he may not be backed by some sections of the country. It becomes a problem. I think he believes he ticks the two boxes. Yes, he's a popular candidate, and every section of the country can as well back him. But if you look at Obi will rely on a viable running mate to have the backup of some part of Northwest and Northeast. Yes, you will need and possibly you may see that person in Kwankwaso. But Kwankwaso's stronghold has always been in Kano State. If you look at the last election, because I've always said that every election will be is different. But we have seen situations where people make some good outings and improve on that. If you look at the president we had before, Muhammadu Buhari, he contested in 2003, he contested in 2007, he contested in 2011 until he won in 2015. And if you look at all the times he came out to contest, you will see 8 million votes, 9 million votes, 10 million votes, 11 million votes, until he had about 15 point something million votes in 2015, based on the coalition and alliance we had during that time prior to that election. You can see that he had already had about 10 million votes in his own kitty, looking for about 5. For you to be the president of this country, you must target at least 16 to 17 million votes, because we know Nigerians don't vote. We know there is voter apathy. But your target should be 16 to 17 million votes, all things being equal. Who will be that person amongst these candidates or these aspirants we have mentioned, Atiku, Obi, Kwankwaso, that can amass that number? Last we checked, Obi had about 6 point something million votes. Atiku had about 7 point something million votes. Tinubu had about 8 point something million votes. The last we checked. In all of this, Atiku cannot be deputy or running mate to Obi, because it is status bar. Status bar in the sense that Atiku cannot run for the office of vice president again in his life. He cannot run for the office of vice president because he had closed that chapter. Because just like once you run for president, you stay for 8 years. You cannot come back again and run for the office of president. If you run for the office of vice president for 8 years, you cannot come back and run for it again. So that is status bar. That chapter has closed. He had closed that chapter before now. That's what I'm trying to say. The only office he can run, Atiku is 79. By November, Atiku will be 80 years. By November, Atiku will be 80 years. And the only office he can run will be that of the president. There are those who believe that the best, I've always said, their best chance, their best gamble, as we speak, will be Atiku Obi. That will be their best gamble. Supported by different facts, not by my own sentiment or my wish or my thoughts. Atiku has carved this strong base in the north. But the point is, those that supported Atiku in the last election, they have all left him. Yeah, but
so some are saying that Mamadou is not going anywhere.
Who is Dele Mamadou?
Dele Mamadou is not going anywhere.
And
some other persons.
Has Dele Momodu any structure, political structure?
No, whether he has or not, of course. What I'm saying is people who have not left them.
I'm talking about those who have political structure, wide political structure that supported Atiku. Let me name them. I mean, likes of Fintere from Adamawa State. I mean, likes of the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Muhammad. I'm looking at some of the governors that threw their weight behind him. And there were also some governors that did not also support him, but there were some political...
Fintere has gone to the APC, right?
Yes.
And of course, the chance is that he's going to support Tinubu. Then for Bala, who is of Bauchi, for now he's negotiating whether to go to the ADC or the APC. So if he goes to the ADC, it now becomes obvious he's going to work for the president. But if he chooses to go to another party, of course, we know that in politics, you can still cross the Niger, or you can still extend hand of fellowship and negotiate and have people work for you.
Yes. The point is this. We are just trying to make some political calculation. This is what we call political calculus. Just like we said earlier on. Bola Ahmed Tinubu won 12 states and had a strong outing in other states. He came almost second. In some states, he did not win. The most important thing is not about the number of states.
So are you saying that Atiku is now a featherweight politician?
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the variables for 2023, those variables seems to have been maybe adjusted.
So if he teams up with Obi, like Atiku being the flag bearer and Obi being the running mate, would that be a good run against Mr. President?
I'm just looking at things the way they are, because I'm not looking at things the way they were in 2023.
So,
but I'm looking at things.
What has changed?
If you look at the state Atiku won in 2023, Atiku won Adamawa State, Atiku won Bauchi, Atiku won Gombe, Atiku won Taraba, Atiku won Yobe, Atiku won Sokoto, Atiku won Katsina, Atiku won Kaduna, Atiku won Kano, and also Atiku won one other state. I'm just trying to compute the states.
So are you saying he can't win in those states again?
I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm just trying to look at those variables that made him win those states. If those variables are still there, that's the point I'm trying to make. I'm just trying to be very, very, real. I'm concerned about certain equations, certain constraints.
So what we have a fact on now, okay, let's not a fact. What you have been able to conclude is that ADC will not be able to have a consensus.
Yes.
You think they cannot do that?
It's simply impossible.
Okay.
Because Obi wants to run for that office, and he has said it many times. In fact, some people are saying that if he doesn't get the ticket, he may leave that party for another party. And Atiku believe that the only thing... Obi, by direct primaries, Obi may likely emerge as the candidate. But by consensus, Atiku may likely emerge as a candidate. And Atiku knowing very well that the only thing that will make him to come out on top as a candidate will be by consensus. And that's why he said they are going to go for consensus first.
Now, Atiku said that if consensus fails, they will go for primaries. And if after the primaries, whoever that emerges, they are going to support him. We're going to listen to him. Before we also, if we have time, listen to what Peter B said when he was asked a similar question, where he said if it becomes transactional, he might consider his exit from the party. Now, let's listen to Atiku first.
Yes. And not only did you agree to do the interview, you insisted on coming to the studio to do it. So we appreciate that very much. Now, you've been a central figure in Nigerian politics for decades, and by the time the election comes around in 2027, you'll be 80. Respectfully, I mean, this may be your last realistic shot at the presidency. Does that make the stakes higher for you this time?
Certainly yes, because the stakes are higher, because I believe that will be my last outing. And
so that's incontrovertibly
that's incontrovertible.
Fact. Okay.
Yes.
Right. So beyond the fact that you have said conclusively that will be your last outing, why should Nigerians take that gamble on you now? Why should they believe that you represent the future and not the past?
I represent both the past and the future. Simply because we have seen various levels of leadership in the country, both young and old, and we're experiencing them. And I still believe that our expectations of the young leadership is below what we thought. And we believe, I personally believe, they require experience and they require tutelage from the older generation.
Yeah, but you don't have to be in power to give them that tutelage.
Sometimes you need to be.
I mean, you could be doing it now.
Yeah, sometimes you need to be, because.
Okay, so you just heard what he said in that very one. I was thinking that we were able to get that to that very part where he spoke about if they fail by consensus, they are going to go by primaries, and after the primaries, they are going to queue behind whoever that emerges.
Winner.
Right.
Yeah.
Including Peter Obi.
Of course, if he is a...
Okay, let's
I
hear
want to
this.
ask you a direct question now. If it comes down to that single ticket, will you step aside for Peter Obi, for example, if he's more popular? Yes or no?
I will step aside for any winner.
Right.
Yeah.
Including Peter Obi.
Of course, if he is a contender, why not?
I mean, he was your vice presidential running mate. Would that make it a bit more difficult for you to accept him coming?
What is difficult there is
well, I don't know. That's why
politics
I'm asking.
is either you go through democracy or you go through consensus.
Okay, so Tony, that's the words of Atiku Abubakar. So, do you think? Okay, yes. Not do you think? You believe that it's going to be difficult for them to have consensus, and then eventually, if they go for primaries, do you see them still be united to go into the election?
Well, they have no option. Because before now, if you have your primaries and probably you do not feel satisfied with the primary, where will you run to? No option. Why before now, why people would go for or leave the party will be where there will be an option. It's a case of being between Devon and the Blue Sea. I was actually trying to tell you that some constraints and also factors that made Atiku won last time around, those factors are not here again. And if you look at some of the states Atiku won, I was about telling you, many of the states, the governors played a role because those states were PDP states. Remember, Atiku contested on the banner of PDP. And PDP, as a party at that time, had structure. You cannot take it away. Yet, Atiku is popular. But he did so much based on PDP structure. If you ask me, I would tell you that even, I don't want to sound modest.
But the PDP structure you're talking about, was it not the same PDP that was divided before the election?
Before that election, Governor Emo Uno worked for Atiku and delivered Atiku in Akwa Ibom State.
So did he win there?
Atiku won Akwa Ibom.
Okay.
Atiku won Bayelsa. The governor, Doyo Diri, leveraging on PDP structure in Bayelsa State.
But if you look at Akwa Ibom, Tony, if you look at the history of Akwa Ibom, look at Bayelsa.
Yeah.
They have been PDP.
That's what I'm telling you. So it was easy for Atiku to win.
No, so what I'm saying is, it might not be the governor's factor because
that's what I'm telling you.
Traditionally, the PDP.
Of course, it's governor's factor because the governor funds the party in that state. The governor funds the party. The government of those states funds those parties. Now they have gone to APC. With that structure, who will be there to fund the party? The party structure of any political party is funded. He used money to grease it. Adamawa State, his home state, where he won.
So what about the people factor, where people are disenchanted with the government of APC? So are you saying that the people factor will not come into?
It came in Delta State. Even Okowa was from Delta State. Okowa is from Delta State because he stood there. Okowa is from Delta State. But Obi won that state. And that state, Delta State, is also predominantly PDP. It had been a PDP state. I'm talking about 2023 election. the people's factor, as you mentioned, came into the state. You see, there are places where that factor will be. There are places where that sort factors will not be. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you look at in Kebbi State, all the 3 PDP senators, Adamu Alero, Yahaya Abubakar Abdullahi, and Garaba Madoki, they worked for Atiku and ensured that Atiku win Kebbi State in 2023. They have all defected to APC. You remember Adamu Alero, former governor. In Katsina State, I remember the 3 House of Representative members, Abubakar Liu, Yusuf Mejigri, and at the same time, I think Abdullahi Barabe. They all work for Atiku in Katsina State and ensure that Atiku win Katsina State. But as we speak now, they have all left. They are in APC. So you can look at the state Atiku won in the last election. Just like I mentioned earlier on, Obi's case was a case of people's factor. Atiku's case was a case of the structure of the party in some of those states and his also popularity in some. But in case of Obi, the movement from their own structure, but they could not protect their votes in some other states. The point I'm trying to make here is this. Those factors that made Atiku win 12 states, those factors, for me, 70% have disappeared. Okay. Can Atiku win Osun State? Because remember, Atiku won Osun State.
Yes.
Remember the governor of Osun State. Where is the governor of Osun State now, as we speak?
Well, Osun State is if you say Osun State is with ADC, sorry, not ADC, it's with
SDP.
SDP, yeah, exactly.
But where was the governor at that time?
But look at the factor now.
Where was the governor at that time of that election, 2023?
But look at the factor, because
the dancing governor.
If you go to that's not Osun State,
yes,
you still have Rauf Araboshala,
yes,
who is in the ADC,
of course.
And then you have Adeleke, who is fighting to survive.
I know.
So Adeleke, if he has that political clout to be able to do wonders, I do not know.
Let me ask you something. Who will fund the structure of that party, what do you call it, ADC party, in Osun State? Who will fund it?
You know, as it stands now, because the way ADC is going to go about this election is the funding will not come from the governors. The funding will come with those, it will come from those conglomerates who have decided
Let me
to
tell you
put
something.
their resources.
Let me tell you something.
We know that it doesn't work like that. Like, it's not in black and white that everybody is going to bring resources as expected. But many of them, the likes of Rotimi Amechi, the likes of Erufai, Obi, mentioned Atiku, and many others, they might want to put resources together depending on how they negotiate. Because this whole thing depends on negotiation. If you negotiate well and cover all the interests, you might be able to go into a relation with a very common ground. But when all the interests are not well protected, everybody might withhold funds.
The truth is this. I know very well that Osun State, APC will win it easily. This is my prediction. You know why? Apart from the fact that Senator Ajibola Bashiru, the National Secretary of APC, who is a prominent figure, is from that very state, and then Boyoga Oyetola, and then even Francis.
Tony, hold on. Let's go for this commercial break. Once we return, so that we'll just brush this and then take calls.
All right.
Stay with us, we'll be right back.
We are Udala Radio. Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
For too long, realtors have worked alone. No structure, no protection, no unified voice. That era ends now. Welcome to the Realtors Summit 2026, a historic gathering that will redefine real estate in Anambra and Asaba. The Anambra Asaba Realtors Association, a platform for unity, influence, and collective power. And beyond that, a Realtors Welfare Initiative built to support you when it matters most. Strengthen your career and secure your future in the industry. At this summit, you'll discover smarter ways to close and scale, multiple income channels in real estate, and strategies that move you from hustle to ownership and authority. Featuring Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki of Udala FM, Lovelin Chinenye Nana, Property Boss, and Mr. Jude Igwebike, IT Professional. Date 2nd May 2026. Time 11 a.m. Venue 5-star Restaurant Hall, Stock Exchange, Onitsha. This is not for everyone, but for realtors who are ready to rise. For inquiries, call 0803-276-0653. This summit is free, powered by Nebek Real Estate Limited.
Searching for a place to eat good food and still enjoy premium relaxation? Stanley World Agwoka got you covered. Welcome to Stanley SFF Restaurant and Operiche Lounge Agwoka, where taste meets class. From hot, delicious local dishes to mouth-watering African and continental cuisines, pepper soup, grilled meat, rice, drinks, and many more. Everything is fresh and satisfying. Step into Operiche Lounge, a calm, classy environment to chill, hang out, and unwind. Perfect for friends, dates, and after-work relaxation. Chop well, drink well, and feel cool morning, afternoon, and night. Stanley SFF Restaurant and Operiche Lounge, a haven for good food, great vibes, top security, and steady comfort. For further inquiry, call 0814-565-6920 or 0813-855-8009.
Are you smart, confident, and ready to earn big? Do you have a passion for sales and marketing? Then listen up. Udala Radio 104.7 FM is calling on ambitious, result-driven individuals to join our team as marketers. No limits, no boundaries, just results and rewards. Work at your own pace, meet amazing clients, and grow your income. Sell it, share it, earn your way. Join Udala Radio and start today. Interested? Visit our station today at number 5 Okono Street, Onitsha, or call 0803-350-4206 or send your CV to udalaradio@gmail.com. Don't wait. Your success story starts here. Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Okay, are you listening to the Polity on Udala Radio 104.7 FM? It's 10:34 a.m. My name is Franklin Debukaton Lisambekis on the analysis desk. We have a question hanging, but we're going to allow you to, come in with your calls. In between the calls, we're squeezing that very answer. The phone lines are 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. You can also head to our Facebook page, Udala Radio 104.7 FM, and drop your comment. Hello, good morning.
Mr. Frank, good morning.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
PC is coming out from Tretre.
Okay, go on, sir.
Dr. Tony, good morning. Right.
Yeah, welcome. It's good to have you.
I think the analysis is very clear to me. Obi's article can do it successfully, but this our tribalism is a problem in this very country. And I thought the right way for them to go should have been on an agreement between Atiku and Obi and the rest of the...
Hello? Okay, I think you have to try again. Please try again at 0803-221-6793 or 0803-827-6694. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Franklin.
Welcome aboard.
Dr. Tony Sambeki. Very good morning to you.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
This is the voice of Chidi Chubuma, joining you from Bo. Our expectation is that there will be a consensus, and that consensus will favor P2B and Kwankwaso. We can't continue to rely on the past glory of Atiku Abubakar. His glory has faded away and is no longer relevant politically. So everything that he's doing now is just a kind of somebody being selfish, because we have supported him in different ways. I don't know what he left here that is trying to get. And for the Northerners, we're expecting them to support us this time, because we have supported them in the past in different ways, We have supported them. We have built all manner of bridges and all manner of political alignment with the North. Anybody that is speaking against Igbo or making cases of how we play politics, that person is our renegade. Somebody that don't want Igbo to progress. We have done all manner of political support to the Northerners and even the Southwest. And this time, we are expecting them to reciprocate to support people. It is not their turn this time. The Southerner will complete their 8 years. And there's somebody taking our own 4 years. And then now, what is left for the Igbos is 4 years. And Obi is the one that everybody is looking up.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Please try to understand, okay? Like I say, I take 1 minute 30 seconds. 1 minute 30 seconds to make your contribution so that we give others room to advance their views. Good morning.
I'm Badmos. I'm calling from Manoeuvring.
Mr. Badmos, go on.
Let me make it very clear this morning. Whether they go through consensus or open primary or whatever they call it, as long as Atiku Abubakar is in the ballot, he's going to win the election. Whether they go direct or consensus, as long as Atiku is there, he will be the winner. It is very simple. So people are saying that if one exchange hands is going to leave or whatever, we wait to see, because I don't see before Atiku will win that election, money will change hands. So let's see whether P2B will leave ADC for Atiku. But based on the election, as long as Atiku is there, he is going to be the winner. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Badmos. Okay, so I was going through and saw what Tony's friend, Tony, you have read Shehu Show Me, the one who has been dancing on media. He said that he has seen it in his spirit that it's going to be Atiku Rotimi Amechi ticket. Hello, good morning. Okay, so try again 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Frank.
Good morning.
Mr. Tony, Mr. Becky.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
My name is Mario Kishuka, calling from Onitsha.
Mr. Mario, okay, go on.
Thank you very much. Well, anybody who is promoting Atiku and Obi, I thought you're making a very big mistake. No matter how anybody is saying it, if ADC wants to survive, they should not miss giving Obi ticket. I am telling you what majority of Nigerian youths are thinking. If they fail to give Obi ticket, they will not vote ADC. Go and write this thing that I'm telling you now. And if Obi eventually leave that party and have maybe opportunity to contest with another party, go and watch what is going to happen. So ADC, if they want to make a very good opposition, if they want to do something in this election, they should know how to do it and produce Obi as their candidate. It's an advice. So long as I didn't see Obi on that particular ballot under ADC, my own vote will not count on ADC. Simple as that. Because we are looking at Nigeria that we prosper, not Nigeria that we keep going down with all these fake politicians that we have tested and we have tested and we see that they produce no result.
Thank you,
we
Mario.
need somebody who has been tested and trusted. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining. Okay, 0803-221-6973. Hello. Okay, tell us your name.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Team Dr. Becky.
You're welcome.
My name is Ogochukwu, all the way from Odieni State.
Go on, Mr. Ogochukwu.
In fact, in terms of politics, I respect Tony. Tony is a truly clear man. I concur with analysis this morning. But what I want to chip in terms of this primary, if you ask me, ADC primary to be may win that primary because the southern Nigeria will vote for him, and the middle belt, that more central, also would like him to vote for Peter Obi, and that will make to win that primary. Because if this primary is indirect, my brother, I think we won the primary. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Go from Enugu State. 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. This is Radio Senator from Onitsha.
Go on, Radio Senator.
See, if Obi is white, Obi should just leave that ADC. Because if he did not leave ADC, it's the same thing that Atiku did last time. Atiku was the person that caused the destabilization of PDP. Because in the last election, he used money to scheme everybody away. That's why Obi left to Labour. The same Atiku will not give up. He's going to use all his last resources to make sure he wins that ticket. Because this is his last chance in politics. It's almost 80. So if Obi is white, let Obi move and start looking for alternatives for another party. Atiku will never give up. He wants to be the president of Nigeria by all costs. So Obi should watch out and have an alternative. Discuss with other parties quietly. When that ADC fail, he move. All of us are waiting. Anywhere we move to, we are going there. I cannot vote a 80 years man to be president of Nigeria.
All right.
I cannot do that.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you. Atiku yesterday he said that this is his last attempt at the presidency. That people should take him by his word. That after this, he's done and dusted. Nobody's going to see him contesting for presidency anymore. Hello. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Ebuka. Good morning, Dr. Tony.
Yes.
This is Engineer Zulugo calling from Oka.
Come on, engineer.
I think these men, when they're outside power, they'll be talking passionately, but when they get in there, they become another personality altogether. If Nigeria will consider Peter Obi too, give him their ticket. But I think when he was in such position, he didn't see it. To the southeast during Peter Obi time, the last election, allow Peter Obi to emerge. Now he wants Peter Obi to allow him to emerge. How fair? But Nigerians and Peter Obi shouldn't be considering all those that he may allow him. And even these 4 years Peter Obi is saying, it won't be enough to tackle the challenges in Nigeria. So if what Atiku is saying is that one term, even if he wins, he will go one term. They might start considering that what matters is to win an election, stay united and win the election, not primary and scattering. Stay united at the primaries, win the election. Dr. Tony is in his tone as usual, giving allowance to APC. You should know that some Apuga men are not aligning with the governor. They say he's on his own. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Zugo. Thank you for dropping by. Okay, we'll take more reactions over the phone before we hit the social media platform, our Facebook page. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Franklin.
Yes, your name?
And good morning, Dr. Victor Becky.
You're welcome.
Sylvester from Fuga, Edo State.
Yes, go on.
Doctor, I love your analysis. You say things the way they are. Truly speaking, I don't see the Cameroon winning its ticket of ADC. You see what Atiku have invested in that party. The other time he spent $1.2 million lobbying. What do you think about that? And now they've thrown open the ticket. I don't think the Cameroon win. And even if the Cameroon wins that ticket, I don't think he will be able to garner the vote he got in 2023. Take Edo State, for example. Peter Obi won Edo State in 2023. APC and PDP got, I think, over 25%. So this time, I don't see Peter Obi winning Edo State again with the way things are now, because the government is working. And secondly, with the way things are now in this state and in most states that APC are controlling, it will be difficult. The only viable ticket will be Atiku and Obi. If not, no way. And I don't even think they will, but that will be the only ticket that at least they will try.
All right.
But anything less than anything I thought for that, you know what? Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Tony, I don't know if you have seen the interview which was granted by Kenneth Okonkwo, where he said that if Peter Obi didn't get the ADC ticket and he decides to leave the party, that he's compromised and working for Tinubu.
Well, I saw that, but we'll talk about that. But it's just his opinion, as always. He's working for Atiku anyway.
Okay, so let's see who we have here now. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning.
My name is Shadazwe. We've been talking of everybody living forever. Nobody's thinking of everybody dying sometime. I don't wish any of us to die sometimes, but sometimes life is valuable. You got to be careful, right? You got to be careful. No one lives forever. Huh? Atiku has paid his dues. And Peter Obi is paying his dues too. So let's just take it easy and say he will never do this or he will never say never. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, thank you. How it works, I think it was the very morning we're thinking about. Or does it end them? There she was. Okay, so let's get to our social media platform, the Facebook page. Also, Francis Omaganamani from Amaguns in Enugu State says, Atiku should relinquish his presidential ambition to allow South complete their tenure. For ADC to make any impact come 2027, Mr. Peter Obi should be given the ticket to vie for presidency. Michael Chayel says, okay, please, Tony, 2023 election, Peter Obi won Lagos, Abuja, Kaduna, Delta, Southeast, Kogi. So my question, how many states did Tinubu win? Like, where the information, where is it coming from? Like, Peter Obi winning in Kaduna. Peter Obi won we're talking about FCT Lagos, yes. Yeah. But for, okay. Jimmy Kartek from Oboko, he says the best bet for ADC to achieve anything meaningful in 2027 election is to have Obi Kwankwaso at the ballot. Any other thing without Obi is a coronation for Mr. Tinubu. Iru Tugochukwu says SASA is no longer doing their job. Touts are everywhere in Anambra State. The only thing they do is to come and collect money from those touts, and the state government has left them unchecked. Okay, so authorities should take note. Arinze Jimwe from Ibadan Fan Settlement, he says Peter B might eventually win Atiku in the primaries, but the fact is that northern politicians can never accept him being an Igbo man. They will rather give it to Rotimi Amechi. Dr. Misimo Lebra from Ore says we are now living in a country where terrorists have set our teeth on edge and live at the mercy of terrorists. Armed robbers, herdsmen, bandits, and kidnappers, and our leaders are so much soaked in opulence that they no longer remember that lives are sacred and precious. Terrorism is a serious issue any serious government cannot afford to joke with. But here we are shielding, rehabilitating and pampering and integrating them into the force and expecting security to abate. Let government be proactive as we are tired of rhetorics. Christian Umunapwe says, if the problem of Nigeria is autocracy and one-party system, why are Nigerians running away to China that is autocratic? Has a one-party system... Okay, it has a one-party system and has had Xi Jinping as their president for decades. Okay, Okoyang Liker, watching from Moji, thank you. Dandolas, that's Daniela Obunna from Awadobosi says, I want to say that ADC is not serious at all. Please, Tony, you told us that security agencies like Dogachi and SASA do not have the power to prosecute, so I want to know what SASA did by destroying those things they destroyed. Ebenezer Bunna says, he's listening from near. I think many factors will go against Atiku, like the gentleman zoning, age, and again, David Mark-led leadership will also favor B. Chinedu Nwale says the problem is that the government is not doing anything serious about insecurity in this country. They are busy talking about the 2027 presidential election. And Francis added, the growing state of insecurity in this country is really worrisome and disturbing. Government at all levels should collaborate to tackle this menace. Tosoni, let's take this record and he can now come in for us to wrap up. Hello. Good morning. Are you there? Hello, can you hear us?
Thank you, Franklin.
Yes, good morning. Your name?
Monday Johnson.
Okay, Monday Johnson.
By regard to Tony Mbeki.
You're welcome.
Yes, go on.
In 2023, by right, it was justiciable for the power to be gifted to Oboneono's bloc to be the flag bearer of APC. We saw how he cried about it. But Tinubu did a very thorough work. People stepped down for him. People who are calling for power to be ceded to Obi should advise him to do thorough work. This is democracy. And I want to say this. Anybody threatening for whatever should Obi did not emerge as flag bearer of APC is inciting Nigerians. I don't take it. This is democracy. You wrestle for it, you contest for it. And Tony Mbeki has said it. It will not end in consensus. Believe you me, because we have people in ADC that has interest. And in Nigeria, politicians cannot downplay their interest. So it will end in, what do you call it? The red primary. So I want to say they should go in and do the thorough work. They should work for it. If you win it at the end of the day, then he clinches.
Yes, good morning, Monday Johnson. So, thank you, Monday Johnson. Tony, we get to wrap up, but so what other things we have to talk about? What other things you want to share, and also reactions? Then there is the one headline on the Ghanaian newspaper where we saw CSOs saying that there is need to set agenda that people who are contesting should set the agenda to align with SDG manifesto, with SDGs. But guess what? You know, for now, all of us, we are preoccupied with talking about permutations for 2027. Nobody is asking what each of the candidates or what each of the aspirants can offer in terms of policies, visions, and direction. We're just talking about maybe I like this very person, I do not like this very person, Tony.
Well, I think we'll come to that because we are still at the level of primaries. It's when they emerge as candidates of the respective parties, what the CSOs said may come in because they have to start setting an agenda. And I have always said what we need in this country is institutional strengthening. If you have any wine, you change the wine from one dish to another thing, from one can to another can, it becomes the same taste. What has changed is just the cans. But let me address one or two things before we wrap up. I have said it many times. The very first text APC would have will be when they will decide whether they will go for direct primary or consensus. If APC says we are going for consensus primaries, their problem will start. Their problem will start. If they adopt consensus, they will have the major problem. And I'm looking at it this way. Camps of Atiku, they are aligning with Amechi. But they realize nothing that Amechi doesn't have that political weight. It's a featherweight. They don't even know that. They don't even know that Okowa, when I was shouting when Atiku picked Okowa, I said Okowa was a featherweight politician. They did not realize it. It was too late for them. Probably Atiku picked Okowa because he was a governor for him to bring money to fund the campaign. And Atiku is in the habit of, if you are the running mate, you must bring money for the campaign funding. And now Amechi, where would Amechi get the money? Of course, Amechi saved billions while as a transportation minister. But he came out the other day and said he's hungry. But that's by the way. They should maybe discountenance the idea of Amechi. The truth remains, just like I said, their best bet will be Atiku Obi. That's the best bet.
So, Tony, from what we have gathered from interactions, from the pulse we have felt, it appears like Obi is open to either being the flag bearer or a running mate.
Yes, he's open to both.
So how difficult would it be for this ADC interest side to sit down, break this thing down, put pen to paper and say, this is how we are going to share power?
Of course, this is exactly what I'm expecting, that if we win this person will be the secretary to the government or the federation. You may give it to one person. You must share these things because the spoils, that's where the problem starts. And where you have to, because you are trying to wrest power from the opposition, from the ruling party, which is strong and united, you must do a very good job. And just from what we've said so far, the dynamics of 2023, they are not the same as we approach 2027. And then some people thinking that Obi will win Lagos. For me, based on what I'm seeing, it will be difficult. Those that voted may be more afraid to come out and vote again. I'm seeing a lot of things because I know very well that people are saying UN come in and preach peace. The truth remains that a lot of things are still untapped. When we talk about direct primaries, just like I said, if they go for direct primaries, many southern Nigerians, they registered. They are internet connected. And then if it's going to be an internet thing, many northern voters will be disenfranchised. Those who wanted to vote Atiku during the primaries, many of them may not be internet compliant, but I know that Atiku will at that point go and mount satellite. In fact, he may even buy phone for many of them. They may even buy any phone that can send message. That's what's going to happen. Once their primary comes close, you see phones that will be distributed to Amajeris. Many Amajeris will be given phone and they'll be taught on how to do it. So there is likelihood that if they do so, that primary may not really be Uhurufobi based on what Atiku may be planning.
Okay.
But in any case, if they do their work very well, like I've always said, they may stand a chance of contestation. I didn't say a chance of winning.
Okay.
Based on what I'm saying.
All right. So that will be end of today's program, and we thank you all for joining us today. In fact, as at March 14th, 2026, ADC said they had registered around 650,000 persons. So for now, we do not know the number of persons they have been able to register. If we get that information, to break it down region by region and then state by state. But to thank you for joining us today's conversation. Thank you, Tony. My name is Franklin Ebuka, and stay with us. We have other things lined up for your listening pleasure.